to the news. Former Republican House Speaker John Boehner is pointing the blame for the deadly January 6th riot squarely at the former president. The New York Times obtained an excerpt from Boehner's new book where he says the former president, quote, incited that bloody insurrection for nothing more than selfish reasons. And he says the Republican Party has been taken over by whack jobs. According to the Times, Boehner writes that Trump's refusal to accept the result of the election not only cost Republicans the Senate, but led to mob violence, adding it was painful to watch. Boehner goes on to say Trump claimed voter fraud without any evidence and repeated those claims, taking advantage of the trust placed in him by his supporters and ultimately betraying that trust. In an emailed statement to the Times, Trump responded, asking when he was he drinking when he made those, oh God, yeah, whatever. He responded, and you can imagine. John Boehner will be our guest on Morning Joe this coming Tuesday. So, Willie, John Boehner, one of a few Republicans who will flat out call out Trump for the things that he is clearly responsible for.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the cover, if we can put that back up, the cover of Speaker Boehner's book, the question is answered right there. He's got a glass of Merlot in his left hand, and he makes no apologies for it. Claire McCaskill, yeah, this is fascinating to watch. Obviously, Speaker Boehner came out and said all the things that a lot of people have been saying about President Trump for a couple of years. I guess the question is, when we hear from people, Republicans in particular, outside of the government now, going after Donald Trump when they were inside the government, perhaps supporting Donald Trump in the case of Speaker Boehner in 2016. Would he be saying these things? Would he have been saying these things around January 6th were he the sitting speaker and not somebody outside government writing the book?
Probably not. But let's be real. Outgoing congressional leaders are never wildly popular. Being a congressional leader kind of ensures you a low approval rating in the United States of America. But it is a little frustrating to have Boehner speak so forcefully now. It would have been helpful. I don't know if it would have made a difference, but it would have been helpful if he would have spoken out when Donald Trump started talking about the only way he could lose is by fraud. That happened last spring. That wasn't like something that happened after the election. He started saying the only way he could lose was by fraud months before people went to the polls. That's when John Boehner should have talked about the whack jobs. That's when he should have talked about how bereft the Republican Party was of principle and how bad Donald Trump had been for the things they believe in. And so I'm not totally impressed that he's speaking out now.
So, John Meacham, John Boehner was sort of pushing back from time to time. And I will say that Mitch McConnell on January the 6th actually spoke out against what was happening on January the 6th. So there were some instances. We saw James Lankford change his vote because of what happened on January the 6th. And, of course, Mitt Romney and a few others were speaking out. But what I find fascinating is that John Boehner is criticizing this Republican Party, just like he was criticizing, he's criticized Ted Cruz in the past and Tea Party, sort of the Tea Party movement in the past and where it's gone. It's very interesting. When I was there, John Boehner was a member of the establishment. And Jeb Bush, it's just so interesting how the establishment itself has been pushed out of the mainstream of the Republican Party, that it's become a completely different party, not just in the past 25 years, just in the past 5 years.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that this idea that there's a group of satraps who can, if only they would beam in and speak truth on Fox, the Republic would be saved. I think we're way past that. We're still fighting nascent fascism in this country. Let's be very clear. And, when Senator McConnell said what he said about the insurrection and said after he voted against impeachment what he said about impeachment, It's a little like the line in Tom Sawyer where an evangelist came through town who was so good that they said Huck Finn was saved till Tuesday. So, you know, they get saved till Tuesday, then they forget. And, you know, you end up with this, I think, this Joe McCarthy versus Margaret Chase Smith problem that if they care about how they're seen, which they self-evidently do not, or I guess more to the point, they care about who's doing the seeing. As I remember, Boehner ran afoul of the Freedom Caucus, right, which feels incredibly quaint. That the Freedom Caucus would be trying to undo a deal that Boehner was trying to make with Obama. But I do think that Boehner moment, and correct me if I have this timeline wrong, that does feel like kind of a last gasp until this administration of 2013, 2014, where they were trying to legislate. You know, this was Ford and O'Neill and Rosti. You know, they were actually trying to get a deal. And it fell apart because the base wouldn't go along. And to me, what was interesting about that is you go back, sorry for the 41 stuff again, but you go back to 1990, Gingrich and everybody bolted on Bush 41, but he got the bill passed. When they bolted on Boehner, they couldn't pass the bill.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.